Hello and welcome back. What we're talking today about is the relationship between maintenance payments and chilling. Because in various ways, people involved in maintenance sometimes like to chill. So the first situation is when the man, and I say man even though it could sometimes be the other way around, where it's the woman that's the payer and the richer person. But I'll say man, since that's most commonly the case. Decides after earning 100 grand a month for like the last 10 years or so that he now only earns five or he doesn't earn anything because he's taken a sabbatical. And you see this, you see major medical and legal and probably not legal actually, they'd know better, as I'll tell you. Engineers, CEOs, people that are really earning a lot. And when it comes to the maintenance inquiry, suddenly they're only earning 5,000 rand a month due to circumstances beyond their control. Let me just say that courts see this a lot. If you use this strategy, they will not be surprised by it. And in general, they will not be very pleased by it. Now, if you happen to have contracted congenital heart disease and have been in hospital for the previous 6 months, or you almost died, then maybe you might get away with this. But if none of these things have happened, it's very, very unlikely. So I'm just saying that this kind of strategy of not having any money might well make the court award maintenance in terms of the kind of money you should be making as opposed to the kind of money you are making, or at least it will sway it in that direction. The other thing is that it's a wee bit pointless if you do this during your divorce because maintenance can always be reviewed. So everything else in your divorce, like the division of the property, unless there's fraud or something, but very, very rare for the division of the property to be reviewed once it's been decided. But maintenance can be decided at any time. So your ex-wife can come back to the court and say, oh, well, at the time of the trial, he was claiming that he only was making 5,000 rand a month, but now he seems to suddenly be making 80,000 rand a month, and then the court will award maintenance accordingly, and probably rather punitively because they'll realise that you were kind of taking the mickey a bit. So just a lot of people come up with this brilliant strategy of not making any money for a while in order to pay lower maintenance, and usually it doesn't work, and often it backfires. I just heard about a Rule 43, which is a kind of interim maintenance order amongst other things, and the person was paying 15,000 maintenance before, and he went up to having to pay 35 or 40,000 maintenance, which wasn't unreasonable in the circumstances because he was a very well earning person just before, and he could easily earn that and make that. So, but if he'd got in at a reasonable level and not tried this stunt, then he probably would have ended up paying 25 or something and not 35 or 40. So I'm just saying, if you want to chill, it's probably not the best way to do it. Um, of course, if you okay, that's the first question about the pair chilling. The other thing is that you chill, but you've got a lot of assets. So people say, I can't afford to pay this maintenance that my child needs. But it's remember from the last section that there's a way of working out what the child needs. So the child's needs can't be hugely inflated. The child's needs have to be roughly speaking, or usually they'll be roughly speaking, what you paid when you were married or thereabouts. Maybe a little bit less. Maybe if things have happened with the child's needs, maybe a little bit more, but it shouldn't be too far away from there. So if you've got assets, you've got houses, you've got three or four other houses in your name, and even not in your name, but you've got other assets, the court will expect you and order you to sell your assets to pay that maintenance. You can't come along saying, okay, I was earning 10 grand before, and but I've and the child's expenses are 10 grand, and so I can only pay 2 grand if I'm going to spend if I'm going to pay off other debt and extra things. If you've got assets, the court will expect you to sell these assets to maintain your maintenance until the assets are gone. So just be aware of that as well, because that's another thing people are not aware of. Right, okay, but the person that wants to chill is not always the person paying the maintenance. Sometimes the person that wants to chill is the receiver of the maintenance, and in this case, spousal maintenance. So, first of all, you've got a household where the man and the wife both earn 20 grand a month, or 10 grand a month, or 5 grand a month, whatever they earn, but they earn the same. They've been earning the same, roughly speaking, for the last 20 years that they've been married, and they've both got jobs when they get divorced, earning the same amount. In that kind of situation, in this day and age, most of the time there'll be no spousal maintenance paid from one spouse to the other, because they're both deemed to be, you know, economically productive individuals that can look after themselves. So that's the point of departure for spousal maintenance. Spousal maintenance, not maintenance for the kids. The kids' maintenance is bound by the best interests of the child and some other maintenance law. This is spousal maintenance. However, say you've got a situation, a more traditional situation, let's say, where the man has been working, or maybe a very untraditional situation where the woman is the one that's been working, and the other spouse is the one that's been looking after the children, doing all the cooking, the washing, the cleaning, whatever else that spouses do, and they haven't, because of that, had a chance to have an education, or they've had a bit of an education but they haven't got any work experience because they went into this marriage maybe early in life. In that kind of situation, there will usually, and I've painted a very extreme situation, there will usually be rehabilitative maintenance, they often call it, in order that that woman can get back into the workforce. And that can last, it can last a year or two, but most often the situation won't be as dramatic as the one I've painted, and it'll only be maybe 3 months, 6 months, 9 months, that kind of area. And what that basic situation is say, maybe the woman's been looking after the kids for 5 years, but before that she was something quite that you know you can earn a reasonable income from. Then the spouse will pay income for the time that she can rehabilitate her skills, get back into the workforce, and that will pay for her expenses during that time for the interim until she gets back into the workforce. But it will be very, very rare for the husband to be, or let's just say the husband for now, to be put in a situation where he has to pay spousal maintenance for 3 years, 5 years, 10 years. That these days is very rare. So just as the previous provider or husband, if it is the husband, can't just decide now not to work and just to chill for a while and not pay proper maintenance the way he's been working up till now, so the wife or the receiver, if it happens to be that person, yes, she can sometimes get rehabilitative maintenance for a few months to get her back into the workforce. She can't expect to just be able to chill for the rest of her life and have her previous husband look after her. Yes, so chilling, not really a thing that is supported in law. You might be able to chill for a little while. Oh, here's another thing. What if you do chill, and this happened in a case I was involved in, where the wife marries somebody that's very rich? Can the husband stop paying for the child? Now, you might expect the answer to be yes, because you'd be like, well, he's now extremely rich and he's now supporting, you know, he can easily support the offspring of his previous wife. But the answer to that question is actually no. There's no obligation on a new spouse of a person to support their children. It would certainly make rehabilitative maintenance unusual because the wife is now fine, she doesn't need to work. But for the maintenance for children, will still continue to be paid by the original father of these children, even if the wife has married somebody that's extremely rich and who can easily afford to support her children. So you can't even chill as a husband, the previous husband, and I suppose it could work the other way around if a husband married a wife that was very, very rich, and the wife had previously, and the husband was much poorer than the wife, then the wife would also have to continue to pay maintenance. So it does work mostly equally nowadays. And if you ever take something to the Constitutional Court on this, it will almost certainly work equally. The interesting example, which is slightly off the point here, but there's situations in South Africa that a man is allowed to have more than one wife. It's never been tested yet, as far as I'm aware, whether a wife can have more than one husband, but I'm sure with our jurisprudence of equality that if it ever was tested, that unless it was a silly example or something, that a wife would be able to have more than one husband as well. So equality tends to work in most of these family law situations. The only thing that kind of clashes with that is that the best interest of the child will prevail in matters pertaining to the child, regardless of the equality situation. It might be unfair to the husband or to the wife, but generally the child's interests will prevail, but maybe not in really extreme situations. But main point of this section is nobody's allowed to chill for a long time. Everybody's got to work. Everybody's got to, get back into force and pull their weight, and just remember that in anything you do in applications or responses to applications for maintenance. Thank you.